From the outset, I must confess, The Walking Dead never captured my heart. I drifted away from the series during its second season, which is quite unfortunate since I found the first season to be quite engaging. However, the follow-up season, which expanded the episode count from 6 to 13, felt overly stretched and rather tedious. As a result, I decided to step back, only keeping an eye on the significant happenings through the lens of social media over the years. Fast forward to now, and my favorite character from the show, one who was created solely for the series, has embarked on his own adventure. The Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon may not break new ground, especially in 2023, but I discovered a renewed interest in this narrative. So today we're going to do a recap of Walking Dead Daryl Dixon Season 1. So without a further ado, let's begin. Episode 1. Daryl Dixon washes up on the shores of France, determined to make his way back to America. However, he quickly finds himself injured by a new type of walker known as burners. While near Marseille, he meets Maribel and her grandfather, Guillaume. Their encounter takes a dark turn when soldiers from a paramilitary group called Pouvoir de Vivants, Power of the Living, attack. After a violent confrontation, Maribel and Guillaume rob Daryl and make their escape. Unfortunately, they are soon caught by Cadron, Michelle's brother, who kills Guillaume and seeks vengeance on Daryl, believing him responsible for Michelle's death. Daryl is later discovered by Isabel, a nun affiliated with the Union de l'Espoir, Union of Hope, who brings him to her abbey for medical care. There, she introduces him to Laurent, a young boy whom the Union believes is the prophesied Messiah meant to restore humanity. Isabel insists that Daryl is the messenger destined to escort Laurent to the Union's group in Paris, but he firmly declines and decides to leave. The situation escalates when Cadron's men launch an attack on the abbey, resulting in the deaths of many nuns. Daryl, however, returns to help defend the abbey against the attackers. In exchange for Isabel guiding him to Le Havre, he agrees to assist them. It is revealed that Daryl was taken from America by a Pouvoir ship carrying Walker test subjects, but he led a mutiny, destroyed their research, and managed to escape. Meanwhile, Janet, the leader of Pouvoir, has ordered Daryl's capture. Episode 2. In the early days of the outbreak, Isabel, a thief struggling with addiction, flees Paris alongside her boyfriend Quinn and her pregnant sister Lily. However, she ultimately chooses to leave Quinn behind. Tragically, Lily dies during childbirth, giving birth to Laurent through an emergency C-section while in a walker state. Fast forward to the present. The group faces a setback when they lose their mule and are captured by a group of children residing in their former preschool, where their ailing teacher, Madame Dubois, is also present. Laurent bonds with the children, who reveal to him that the nuns have been dishonest. In need of a horse, Daryl proposes a deal. He will fetch medicine for Dubois if Lou, one of the children, assists him in raiding a nearby castle owned by a man known as La Tarasque. Inside the castle, Daryl confronts the owner, an American from Texas named R.J. Gaines, and manages to rescue a boy he had imprisoned. In a twist of fate, Gaines falls into his own walker mode and meets a gruesome end, while the children come to Daryl's aid. Meanwhile, Dubois passes away, prompting Daryl to encourage Lou to take on a leadership role. As Daryl's group departs, Laurent expresses his frustration over the secrets being kept from him. Back at the abbey, Cadron discovers a recorded message from Daryl, along with a photo of Laurent and a map detailing the group's journey to Paris. Episode 3. After a short pause in Angers, where they witnessed an unusual zombie orchestra performing Bolero, Daryl's group finally arrives in Paris. There, they have a touching encounter with a little girl, now a zombie, who used to live next door to Isabel. They then connect with a community led by a man named Fallu. With their assistance, Daryl looks for information about a ship that could take him back to America, which leads them to the Demi-Monde nightclub and a surprising reunion with Isabel's former boyfriend, Quinn. Quinn discloses that he is Laurent's father and insists that Isabel and Laurent must stay with him in return for his help. Daryl refuses the offer and prepares to go off on his own after a heated argument with Isabel, prompting Laurent to run away after overhearing their conversation. Meanwhile, Cadron meets with Janet, who permits him to lead the search for Daryl while her team continues their experiments with walkers. Puvor launches an attack on Fala's community, and Isabel desperately searches for Laurent, while Daryl finds himself crashing through a roof after a fierce confrontation with Cadron. Episode 4. Janet embarks on a mission to find Laurent, aiming to eliminate him as he represents a beacon of hope for the people. In this pursuit, Janet strikes a deal with Quinn, who is also on the hunt for Laurent in hopes of reclaiming Isabel. After narrowly escaping a flooded building and experiencing a haunting dream where a praying Laurent is overlooked by a horde of walkers, Daryl encounters Antoine, who meets a tragic end at the hands of guerrilleros. However, Antoine assists a dying man in freeing his pigeons before his demise. Reuniting with Isabel, Daryl tracks Laurent to the ruins of the Eiffel Tower, where the boy nearly falls prey to a massive herd. During the rescue attempt, Laurent is captured by Quinn's men and taken to Demimonde. With the aid of a captive he tortures and ultimately leaves to the walkers, Daryl infiltrates the nightclub and successfully rescues Laurent while Falou and his crew create a diversion. Daryl manages to overpower Quinn, and in a twist, Quinn's girlfriend Anna, frustrated with his fixation on Isabel, allows Daryl and Laurent to escape. Sylvie, having fallen for Emile from Farah's community, chooses to remain in Paris with him. Meanwhile, Isabel stays behind to persuade Quinn to assist in securing Daryl and Laurent's exit from the city as Janet tightens his grip on Paris. Ultimately, Daryl and Laurent set sail from Paris on a boat bound for the Nest, the main base of the Union. Episode 5. In a flashback set in Maine, Daryl assists in capturing walkers in exchange for the fuel he desperately needs to return home. During this time, he has a brief encounter with Carol, who informs him that someone has returned. Following a tragic incident where Juno kills a young man Daryl was mentoring, a confrontation between them leads to their confinement on the Puvor ship. Daryl and Juno team up to escape, but their plan goes awry when Juno is brutally killed by one of Puvor's enhanced test subjects, a walker exhibiting abilities reminiscent of various other types. In the present day, Isabel finds it difficult to reconnect with Quinn, even contemplating using a knife against him. She receives a covert message from Sylvie, Falou, and Emile. Isabel reluctantly agrees to attend a Puvor celebration with Quinn, only to be betrayed by a jealous Anna. Meanwhile, Daryl, Laurent, and Aslan continue their quest toward the Nest, but tragedy strikes when Aslan is killed during a skirmish with walkers. Before his death, he reveals that the Nest is located at Mont Saint-Michel. However, Laurent, desiring to go to America with Daryl, cuts a rope, allowing their boat to drift away. The trio, including Quinn, is soon captured by guerrilleros. Janet pressures Laurent into publicly supporting her in an event, where she forces Daryl into a gladiatorial match against one of her enhanced walkers, unaware that Sylvie, Falou, and Emile have secretly infiltrated the gathering.
Follow my lead.
Sure thing, mate.
Episode 6. In the aftermath of Daryl's confrontation with the walker, he and Quinn, still chained together, face off against a horde of enhanced walkers in the arena. Their struggle is interrupted when Falou eliminates the guerriere that Janet had ordered to execute them. Amid the ensuing chaos, the group manages to escape, but not without a cost. Quinn, who has been bitten, heroically sacrifices himself to give Daryl a chance to flee. However, Quinn soon reanimates, prompting Laurent to take the difficult step of putting down his biological father, with Daryl's support. After parting ways with Falou and Emile, Daryl and his companions continue their trek toward Mont Saint-Michel, only to be ambushed by Janet's forces. Cadron, unable to harm a child, turns his weapon on the other guerrilleros, vowing to seek revenge on Daryl later. Upon returning, Janet uncovers Codron's treachery and subjects him to torture for information. Eventually, Daryl's group arrives at the nest, where they decide to settle. Daryl finds himself torn between the idea of staying in France or returning to America. Losong, the leader of the Union of Hope, arranges for Daryl to travel to Newfoundland, but Daryl chooses to leave, despite Isabel's poignant reminder of his own father's abandonment. At the Normandy American Cemetery and Memorial, Daryl pays his respects at the grave of his grandfather, William T. Dixon, who lost his life on D-Day. As he stands on Omaha Beach, preparing to board a boat, he hesitates upon noticing Lauren secretly following him, with a horde of walkers closing in. Meanwhile, in Freeport, Maine, Carol is on a mission to find Daryl and stumbles upon his motorcycle. After capturing its aggressive rider, she learns from him where he last saw Daryl.